Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another exciting edition with sound, complete with audio, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me this evening on the December 17 edition of Monday Night Raw. Well, actually, this isn't the edition of Monday Night Raw. This is the recap show. This is the recap show for Monday Night Raw, December 17. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that I have sound. Thank you very much to all the lovely, lovely, lovely people who have joined me live in chat because yes, this is a live show. It's a live program that I do here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes after every Raw. So I appreciate everyone telling me that my sound was out because, you wouldn't want that now. Wouldn't want a silent show. That'd suck. That would completely suck. I'm really glad you guys are here. And we have a bunch of people in the chat tonight, don't we? Look at that. We have Blaine is here. JPQ and Anthony from Smart to Death, our moderators extraordinaire for the evening. Kevin, Kristen Ashley, editor-in-chief of Diva Dirt, legendary GF. So good to see all of you. And if you're watching this in the future, well, you can come after Raw. I start these about a half hour later. You can come in and join the conversation. It's a lot of fun. And then if you're in the chat right now, well, why don't you go ahead and toss this link out, right? You just put it out there into the ether. See what happens. Thumbs up the video. That kind of stuff it really does help out quite a bit. And maybe think about subscribing. Put that in the back of your mind. Maybe just a little sub button. You know, we're about a week out to Christmas. I had established myself a goal to get 200 subscribers as a Christmas gift to myself, but through other people. You know, it's kind of weird, but you know that it was an objective that I had set for myself, and as it stands right now, I'm like 16 subscribers away. So I mean, I'm so close to having the best Christmas ever, to rekindle my belief in Christmas magic, in the power of the holiday season. So, I mean, if you guys know, you know, if you want to put that word out, and if you want to tell people, you know, hey, you should subscribe to this guy at least till Christmas is done, then you can then after you do whatever you want. I just want him to shut up about it. You can do that. I'll be fine with that, because chances are they'll sub just because you ask them to. It's okay, I don't care. And then they'll watch one of my shows and they'll be so enchanted, so enthralled with what they're seeing that they'll stay a subscriber. Anyway, it's a good evening. It's a good evening to be a wrestling fan. I had a very, very busy evening as well before we actually did this. Before I actually got on here and watched Raw earlier this evening, I co-hosted, supported. I was a part of the Diva Dirt 2018 Fan Award ceremony, and this was set up by editor-in-chief Kristen Ashley, and we were also joined by Anthony of Smart to Death, and the three of us basically we ran down the awards. We handed out the fan awards, where the folks at Diva Dirt had a bunch of categories. They had like 70 million categories out there, and they had their audience pick and choose which women wrestlers were their favorites in each in every category. Kristen Ashley had all the results, ran them down. Anthony and I just sort of added a little extra commentary, and it was a lot of fun. It was a cool moment that we did on Periscope, and if you want to go check out the replay, feel free to do so. It's on the Smart to Death replay. It was fantastic. And you know what? Kristen Ashley, we're supposed to be feuding, but I'm going to break kayfabe here. She's fantastic. She is so good at what she does. She's determined, and she's determined. She's passionate. She puts a lot of effort into what she does. She's 2 months in to the job. That's what she was telling us earlier today. And she just wants to she wants to do so many great things with the site, and I only wish her the best. And I know I speak for Anthony when I say that we were really, really privileged to give her a hand, help her out, make the ceremony a little something special. We hope to have the chance to do more stuff with her down the line. Yes, and I forgot to call it kafabe. That's how you're supposed to pronounce kayfabe. It's kafabe. All right. And since we're talking about programming and things I do, well, tomorrow is SmackDown Live, right? So we're going to be doing the SmackDown Live recap around 10:30 p.m. Eastern, right? About a half hour after SmackDown is done. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do stream-wise next week. And since it's Christmas, the 24th and the 25th, because in our families here, we celebrate on both. We do both Christmas Eve and we do the 25th as well. So I'm thinking maybe I might do a double stream on the 26th. When I mean a double stream, I mean like one stream where I talk about Raw and SmackDown, because I don't even know when exactly I'm going to be watching them. I know I won't be watching Raw on Monday, unless something happens, unless I get like this stomach virus, and I'll probably watch it. And then on Tuesday, maybe later in the evening, I don't know, but I'm not quite sure. It's going to be the usual thing next week. I'll keep you guys posted over on Twitter, which you can follow me, Mr. Warren Hayes. You guys know that. So that's one thing for sure that I'm going to figure out exactly. For sure, I'm going to figure it out and place it in time at some space in time. Nonetheless, despite everything that's happening next week, we still have this week. We still have my NXT 205 Live recap over on Fightful Select, which is the premium service of Fightful.com, premier combat sports news website. You get your pro wrestling, you get your boxing, you get the MMA in, and it's fantastic. You get scoops, exclusives, all sorts of stuff. And if you don't want all that other real combat sports to come and mess up your fake combat sports, well, you can go to FightfulWrestling.com and you have everything that you need right there. So Fightful Select is essentially extra content that you get for becoming a member. So you still get the scoops and the exclusives over on Fightful.com, but what you get when you subscribe to Fightful Select is more stuff. You get my 205 Live NXT recap show. You also get my NXT UK recap show. These days, WWE are doing back-to-back episodes of NXT UK. So what does your boy Warren got to do? Well, he does an extra show. He does an extra show because he cares about proper coverage, about, taking the time to appreciate the good things in life instead of just rushing 4 hours of programming into a 1 hour podcast. Yeah, I have ethics. I have a certain standard that I like to live up to. So that's what we do over at Fightful Select. Then you also get Sean Ross Sapp, who does the weekly Fightful Report, where he basically condenses a whole bunch of news, behind the scenes stuff, all sorts of great things that happen there. You get Steven Jensen, who does the Weekender, covering all sorts of non-WWE programming, Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA is what I wanted to say, a whole bunch of stuff. So he covers that there. You get Q&A sessions. You get retro pay-per-view reviews that I do with Sean. We have World War III, WCW World War III, 1998. It's there. It's right there right now for you. That was the last WCW World War III pay-per-view that they ever did. And after watching that show, you'll understand why they decided never to do that kind of shit again. But, it's interesting because that pay-per-view actually set the stage for a lot of some of the biggest bullshit moments in the history of WCW. It set up Kevin Nash winning so that he'd defeat Goldberg at Starrcade with the taser, which would then set up the finger poke of doom. It was a chain reaction of bullshit that started there. So historically, it's somewhat significant. But go check that out, FightfulSelect.com. Great spot for some great content made from great people with great ideas. I'd say it's great. I am enjoying some mineral water tonight. Would you say perhaps my maybe my stomach is a little upset? Perhaps not. Perhaps I just enjoy the taste of a good mineral water. Does that make me weird? Perhaps not. I'll let you judge. And God knows there's a bunch of you who will be able to judge. All right. Speaking of judging, I don't know what that segue is, but you know what? It's time for Bold Predictions! You know what this is by now. Every week, I get people on Twitter to give me their boldest, wildest predictions for the main roster show of the evening. This being, of course, Monday. Then we get Monday Night Raw bold predictions. Why don't we jump in straight away and see what kind of boldness we have in store? We have Joshua Anderson, who starts off and he says, Vince comes out, says he's turning Raw into Monday Night Nitro. And that is extremely, extremely bold because it was never called Monday Night Nitro. It was called Monday Nitro. It was a play on words on Monday Night Raw. Monday Nitro. So that's extremely bold that he would bring it back and give it the wrong name. Very bold. Thank you, Joshua. Jay King comes out and he says, Vince McMahon comes out and enters himself into the Royal Rumble match. That's extremely bold. And you know what? We did see, and it's even bolder after seeing Vince McMahon tonight. I don't know about you guys, but Vince is looking more and more like an old man now, like a really, really old guy. And you could tell that he wanted to do the big blustering voice at some point. You know, when he did the Then Now Forever thing, he wanted to give it the old McMahon oomph, but he couldn't. And I'm starting to believe that there's probably some kind of health issue with Vince that we're not aware of, because his voice sounds, when he speaks, you feel like there's like big bubbles of phlegm that are just gurgling around in his throat. I'm telling you, there's something off with old Vince, especially since he has to bring out the whole family with him. That he can't cut his own promos all by himself now. There's something a bit iffy about your boy Vince right now. All right, but thank you for that, Jay. Dustin G says Renee Young becomes GM of Raw with Dean as second in command. The power couple, the true to form power couple, becoming the leaders. That'd be interesting. A Renee heel turn. That would have been something. Thank you, Dustin, for that. Thank you, Dustin. There we go. Next we have CM Rebel. Says Vince will make a retirement speech in a salmon-colored suit. The segment will end with Vince giving Stephanie the world's strongest slam. That would be a nice homage. But, yeah, that didn't quite happen, didn't it? But that's why it's bold. It's very bold. Homage rhymes with fromage, which means cheese in French. Next, we have we can barely see this one. This one was very poorly resized here. Let's boost that a bit. There we go. We got legendary JF here. Now we can see what JF has got for us. He says the Canadian branch of the Lucha House Party is formed, called the Lucha Hoser Party. They bring out a cooler full of Molsons and poutine. Then they start an anti-American feud over Canadian versus Vermont maple syrup, leading to a pancake on a pole match with the New Day. Well, you know what? This is very fresh. I like it. This was very bold, but it's also fresh. It's something that was evoked tonight. The freshness of Raw. Bold, fantastic. It's even apropos. Thank you, JF, for this. Thank you, everyone, for your bold predictions. Let's talk about how fresh Raw is now. Because Vincent Kennedy McMahon came to the ring. Then Stephanie Kennedy McMahon came to the ring. Then Triple H Kennedy McMahon Levac came to the ring. And Shane O'Mac Kennedy McMahon came to the ring. And all of them together basically had I think what is called in Latin a mea culpa, where you admit your faults, right? And openly, and you come and you say, well, yes, we were wrong. I apologize. And basically they're saying we haven't been doing a good job for you being the audience, and it's going to change, and it starts tonight. Oh, and that got me excited. We're off to a fresh start. Ooh, freshness. I like freshness. Who doesn't like a fresh piece of produce? Who doesn't like the fresh smell of a sweater coming out of the dryer, which is actually the case of this one here. Actually, I've been wearing it for a couple of hours. I wore it for the Diva Dirt podcast, but it was fresh out of the dryer. It still smells like spring, so fresh. We like fresh. So the four of them, being Vince, Steph, Shane, Trips, they're going to take back Monday Night Raw and SmackDown as well. Now, here's the thing. I'm wondering, like, Monday Night Raw is one thing. If you want to fix Monday Night Raw, be my guest. And if the four of us, we're gonna take back, we're gonna give back Monday Night Raw. We're gonna throw in some stuff. We're gonna make something good. And SmackDown too. SmackDown's not that bad. It's not as much in need of a dramatic shift than Raw does. I'm just saying that. Sometimes it's not as much a fixing, but maybe a couple of tweaks. But otherwise, SmackDown's doing fine. Maybe they're lumping SmackDown into Raw, kind of not to make Raw feel bad. It's being singled out all alone. It's like, it's kind of like when you're, you take both of your kids to the swim meet, and it's like, okay, go kids, and then one of your kids has gets first place, and the other kid barely makes fifth place. Then you go out afterwards. Well, you're gonna get ice cream for both the kids nonetheless, and you're gonna be like, hey, good job, everyone. You're not just gonna get ice cream for the kid who won. You don't want the other kid to feel bad. Maybe it's that kind of situation here. Raw wants the ice cream too. So they're basically, we're going to empower the audience. We're going to empower the superstars. That's a lot of corporate bullshit speak right there. And we're going to give you what you want. New faces, new superstars, new matchups. As of now, you are the authority. And then Baron Corbin comes out. And he has a microphone and says, Mr. McMahon, no one is more excited for a fresh start than I am. And he requests a conversation with the McMahon family, which he eventually gets after the commercial. And the amount of heat that Corbin got. I mean, had he had these levels of heat throughout his tenure as general manager elect, I think they would have held on to that angle a little longer. Because, wow, that was some, every time he tried to speak, the audience would try and cut him off. And you could tell that everyone in the ring was having a good time with it. Triple H got in on it. And, you could feel there was a lot of freestyling because they were just milking the audience reaction. And I'm absolutely fine with that. Baron says he was trying to motivate the superstars, and it's not his fault if they can't live up to the challenge. And basically, he doesn't think what happened to him at TLC last night was fair. As you're, are you going to let the travesty, is what he asks. Are you going to let the travesty of what happened last night stand or overturn the decision and make me GM of Raw? Well, the McMahons at first aren't for it, but then they huddle up and then they're like, well, maybe we should give him a chance. Maybe we should, maybe it's not all bad what he's been doing because, we don't think he's been doing that great a job. Now, there's one thing that I'd like to point out here, just to keep something in mind here. Everyone's pointing the finger. We're talking in kayfabe, right? Okay. Or kefabe. What they should have done here is gently, or maybe not so gently, point out the fact that if Baron Corbin has been driving Raw into the ground and using his position of power to overtake, to do whatever he wants and settle vendettas and so on and so forth, if he was in the position to do that, it's kind of because of Stephanie McMahon. Actually, no, it's a lot because of Stephanie McMahon, because she sent Kurt Angle over on vacation and appointed Corbin as acting general manager in his leave. So she basically told him, the show is yours, make it work. Funny how no one pointed that out in that little little foursome, that little family foursome that was happening in the ring there. No one was like, yeah, but Steph, this is your bullshit decision here. Not quite sure that sits with me. I think Baron, yes, he has a certain amount of responsibility in this regard. But Kurt Angle was tossed out on his ass by Stephanie McMahon. So basically, the last chance that they're willing to give Baron Corbin is to have him fight for his position, of course, because it's wrestling. And he's going to have to fight Kurt Angle. Well, he actually returned last night. He popped up last night. Coming back once again. Yes, to defeat the Olympic gold medal. Oh, and there's a special referee as well, Heath Slater, who comes to a good reaction, which made me happy. And we get our match, Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. Angle quickly gets in with some strikes. He hits a German suplex, and then Corbin goes to the outside. We go to commercial. Back from it, Corbin is in control, and then Triple H comes out and says, well, you know what? With all the noise happening, it was hard to concentrate and so on. Let's make this a handicap match. And Chad Gable, Bobby Roode, and Apollo Crews all come out. So it's a 4-on-1. It's Lucha House Rules. It's a Lucha House Rules match. They pummel all four of them pummel Corbin down. Angle hits the 3 rolling Germans on Corbin. Then Gable hits a German himself. Crews and Roode get some licks in as well. Corbin tries to leave through the audience, but they go out and get him. They toss him back in the ring. And I like the spot where, all 4 competitors have surrounded Corbin, and then Heath Slater's like, oh, and he just turns around and he starts checking the turnbuckle, make sure the padding's okay. just letting everyone beat the hell out of him. I thought that was I like that. That was a cute little moment. And then Shane comes out and says, "Oh, by the way, this is a no disqualification match." And then they all bring chairs in. Heath Slater gets some licks in as well. It all ends with an angle slam, and then after the match, they get a table. Now, I think the audience had started chanting for tables. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I'm the only one who heard this, but I think we audibly heard the call for the tables, like amongst the guys. I don't know who called it, but it was like, all right, let's do the tables. Because the audience was calling for it. Like, it felt spontaneous. It was like, okay, well, we're supposed to be doing what the audience wants. Let's get a table. So they went and got a table and angle slammed through the table. It felt spontaneous. I don't know how much it was, but it seems to me I heard someone call it. Fun segment, though we saw it the last night on TLC. We saw the exact same thing, or close to it. When I was doing when I was the exclusive guest of Anthony Suter on the Smart to Death podcast last night for the TLC recap show, I told, Anthony and I, we were discussing how Baron Corbin would have benefited from being the monster villain for a while still. You know, stuff sort of felt tacked on, and I agreed with what Anthony was saying. Basically that is the fact that everyone that the locker room suddenly bands together to turn against him, felt a little tacked on. I think it could have stretched it out. He could have been even more despicable to key members of the locker room, which would have made this moment, I think, feel a little more special. But hey, like Kristen Alley just said, Kristen Ashley said in the chat, this whole angle here tonight, it was very fresh. It was still, it happened last night. It's still very fresh. You can cook pasta and put it in the fridge and it'll stay fresh for at least a day. So this was like pasta. Next match we get was Dolph versus Finn. This was off the heels of last night's TLC match, Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre, where Dolph interfered. Dolph interfered and slapped the taste out of your boy Finn backstage. So that set up a match for tonight. Dolph early on is in control. Finn is battling back and he hits a drop kick. We go to commercial. And back from commercial, Finn is fighting Dolph off. But Dolph European uppercuts Finn, who goes for the famouser, but reverses it into a reverse DDT, with the elbow, which Finn does, and he covers Dolph for 2. Sling Blade follows. Dolph hits a DDT, covers Finn for 2. Finn goes up top, gets zigzagged for his trouble, and Balor kicks out a 2.9. Drew comes down to interfere, and Dolph is taking the fight to Drew. Drew shoves him into the apron. Tope con hilo by Finn. Dolph then punches Finn, gets him back in the ring. Famouser by Dolph, and Finn kicks out again. And there's another sling blade by your boy Finn, but Drew McIntyre comes in, takes out both guys, forces the DQ, starts ground and pounding Dolph quite a bit. Hits a Claymore on Dolph, then another one to Finn on the outside. And I'm okay with this. I am fine with this setup. Excuse me. I'm fine that the Dolph and Drew story isn't over, because it should not have been over. It shouldn't have been blown off as quickly as it was in the first place. WWE, I've said it a couple of times. I've been saying it a bit recently. They're fantastic at missing sure things, at abandoning opportunities, built-in feuds that they have right here. Dolph and Drew, Dolph and Drew, the minute that they came out together months ago, the first thing that everyone started to say, oh, I cannot wait for them to turn on each other. That was the first thing. You have a built-in easy peasy feud. It's the simplest story to tell. Now, it feels like they're trying to recapture what they had. Toss Finn in there. Maybe his issue with Drew isn't over, or Drew's issue with Finn isn't. But Finn and Dolph tonight had a very solid match. I was very, very content with that, and I want more. If this turns into a triple threat situation, I'm good with that. I haven't been saying hello to anyone in the chat there. I haven't been paying attention. I'm sorry. A lot of you are probably lovesick, and when I mean a lot, I mean mostly one person. Hello to Bob Aruski and John Baez, who have jumped in. What's this about? What? I'm not making merch. Who wants a t-shirt with my face on it? No one wants that. Noah, how you doing? I think you might actually be gone, but yeah, all right. Good. Anthony says Finn will go over in this feud and get positioned for a main event run. I think that's a good plan. That's something I would like to see. I think that's what a lot of stuff. It's something that I would really like to see. Bob Aruski says the local show here is advertising Finn versus Dolph versus Drew. Why not hit the house show circuit, get them warmed up, leading up to a big match? That'd be fun. That would be fun. Next, we have a Dean Ambrose segment coming off of TLC last evening, where Dean is now your new Intercontinental Champion in a match which was a snoozer. I mean, I didn't like it. The audience didn't like it. It's boring. It was a boring match, and it's a shame. And the audience didn't care for it. But again, like we talked about last night with Anthony on Smart to Death, there's a lot of blame here that has to be put on WWE for the absolute tragic mismanagement of this feud. I just spoke about it. This was a built-in feud. It's a built-in feud that they managed to screw up. And why did they manage to screw it up? Because they diverted the attention away from Seth and Dean to Dean being mad at Seth, but also being mad at the audience, and actually being mostly mad at the audience and telling them that they stink and that they're disease-ridden and, that kind of stuff. And it just didn't work. And it completely killed the heat from this feud. It just buckets of sand, not just water, sand. Did you know smothering a fire with sand is much more efficient than water? Did you know that? No, you did. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. But if you didn't, then you just learned something here in the Morning Hay Show. So anyway, the point being that there's only so much that Seth and Dean could have done in the match last night to make people care about it. And anyway, it didn't click. It didn't work out. So tonight we get Dean coming out, first evening out as Intercontinental Champion on the fresh Raw, absolutely fresh, comes out with the guys in the gas masks, and he says, Seth Rollins choked, failed himself, and failed you people. You people should show me. So we're back to the you people. That's so, because it's so much for freshness. Anyway, he says he asks the audience for respect. He should show them respect, but then he says, I don't need respect because I have this. the Intercontinental title. And when I'm done with Seth, he'll have nothing left. I'm going to take his career, drag it through the mud, and toss it into the gutter where it belongs. Being the moral compass, I will give Seth an opportunity to tell the world that that I was right. I being Dean, and he calls him out a couple of times. Seth challenges to come to the ring to punch him in the face. Seth doesn't come out, and I wonder why. There's 4 masked men around the ring. I wonder where Seth could be. But he's not coming out, so it's a mystery. It's a doggone mystery. We don't know where he is. Seth could be anywhere. So he sets up, Dean does, an open challenge for anyone backstage not named Seth Rollins, and out comes Tyler Breeze, fresh off his NXT appearance last week, where he took on Ricochet for the North American title. Well, now he figured he'd go for the IC gold. That's cool. So Tyler's on the... He's aggressive straight off the bat. Strikes and kicks. Tosses Ambrose over the top rope. When we come back from commercial, Ambrose is stomping on Breeze. Follows up with some holds. Breeze battles out with a step-up in Zaguri. Hurricane Rana covers. Only gets 2 on Dean Ambrose. He sends Dean into the post. Who hits shoulder first. Covers him again. Only gets 2. Breeze hits the beauty shot, then goes up top, hits a nice cross body off the top rope, covers for 2 again, a super kick, and he covers for 2 again, and I want to shoot myself because there's way too many pins. I really don't like too many pins. I really, really don't. But after this, Ambrose hits Dirty Deeds out of nowhere, and that was a nice addition of Dirty Deeds that Dean snapped on there. That was really, really good. And he covers Tyler Breeze for the win. So Dean takes the mic again and basically starts talking about how Seth never showed up. But then Seth's music hits, and it turns out one of the guys with the gas masks was Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose needs to vet his staff better. Unless Seth is some super spy, like Tom Cruise Mission Impossible levels of super spy, where he sneaks up behind a guy, or maybe he's like Snake in Metal Gear. He'll creep up and then put a dude in a headlock until he passes out, and then he'll slip into his clothes and no one will be the wiser. Maybe that's some kind of skill that Seth has, a skill set that we're not aware of. Or it could just be bullshit. Anyway, so basically Dean is able to escape because the other masked dudes fight Seth, but Seth fights most of them off. When I say most, I mean all of them off. So there you go. What's going on, chat? Let's see here. Kevin says he was called fickle in his mentions tonight as a highlight of his Twitter career. I'd like to know why, Kevin. That sounds exciting. Yes, and I thought, as Anthony pointed out, I thought Seth and not Seth, but Breeze and Dean had a good match. Bob Haruski says, mad props to the indie dude who ate that super kick. That's true. That was a nicely placed. That was a nicely placed super kick. And yeah, there we go. JPQ says, do you even headlock, bro? Because I didn't talk about all the headlocks that Dean was rapping on tonight. No, at some point I just want to be able to move along because I feel there's a lot of stuff to talk about, such as Shane McMahon backstage making a match on Raw with the tag teams. It's going to take me a moment here to fully wrap my head around the idea that Shane and Vince and Trips and Stephanie have influence on both shows. And I'll be curious to see how this works out with Paige, because Paige she's been the cornerstone of SmackDown management, and Shane hasn't been around. He's going to come in and start moving and grooving things around his family. That's what happens tomorrow. Anyway, so he makes the match as Drake Maverick demands. Oh, wait. This is actually important. Drake and Josh, Drake Maverick. Drake, he comes up to Shane and he demands the mandatory rematch for AOP. And Shane goes, you know what? Mandatory rematches, I think we're done with that. That's so archaic. I'm like, wait a second. Hang on. Have they really buried, gone for good, dead? Is this the case? Will there be no more mandatory rematches after someone loses the title? Oh, sweet babies. If this is the thing now, I could not be happier. That is fresh. That's fresh. Was it a long time overdue? Oh, sure, but I'll take it. The mandatory rematches were dumb and just created really awkward circumstances. At some point, you just have to have the liberty to move on. And then when you don't get the mandatory rematches, then people start bitching about it. Such as Finn Balor never getting his mandatory rematch for the Universal title. Such as Kevin Owens never getting his mandatory rematch for the Universal title. I'm very glad. This is good news. If there's one highlight, not one highlight. This is the highlight of Raw for me. Let's talk about the NXT call-ups. We had a nice little promo package putting over 5 call-ups. The McMahons said at the start of the show that there was going to be new faces. I was like, oh, okay, so this probably means some NXT call-ups. And they didn't go the surprise route. They put the graphic out there. They each gave them little packages, promo packages. We're getting Lars Sullivan. We already knew about that. Heavy Machinery, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and EC3. So that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, if we are going to if we are going to discuss this a little bit, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this, chat. EC3 has been ready. Well, he was main roster ready since they signed him back. And I think it was a good idea to send him down to NXT for a while, just to, loosen him up, reintroduce him to the WWE universe. I think it's fine. I never had an issue with it. You could tell, though, that the preferred style of wrestling on NXT didn't quite mesh well with EC3. He felt a little fish out of water. He wasn't a bad wrestler. He's not bad. But, his moveset, how he behaves in the ring, it smells more of a main roster than an indie show. Let's put it that way. So, I felt it was time for him to go up. And you could tell that for some peculiar reason, they were having some trouble trying to get him to do something or have something for him. Nikki Cross is due. Actually, I think she's done everything that she has to do. That she's done everything that had to be done in NXT. I think her stay has even been overextended. I really think she should have been called up when she lost her match to Shayna Baszler, because there was not a there hasn't been she won't have a better send off than that match would have been for her. But that's nitpicking. I'm glad she's coming up. Lacey Evans, she's a bit of a polarizing figure, isn't she? I like Lacey Evans. I think she needs to. I think she's ready for main roster because she's an act. She has a gimmick. I think her style translates well onto the main roster as well. However, her matches always lack a sense of urgency, and I don't know exactly if it's just a lack of training or if she hasn't been. But a lack of training. She's been in the PC for about 2 years now, something like that. Can't be a lack of training, but there's just something missing to make her a really believable competitor. Maybe she'll do fine in main roster waters. That's entirely possible. Heavy Machinery, I think, despite the fact that that the tag team division on Raw is the Pits, I think they'll work well. I think it'll work well because they're an act. Otis Dozovic is an act. He is prime comedy fodder for the main roster, so I'm not worried about them at all. And there's still the big question on Lars Sullivan. I don't know what they're going to do with Lars. He has to be sent to SmackDown because you already have your big brute, your big invincible brute over on Raw. There's no point on keeping him there. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how all of these fall into place. I think EC3 is a fantastic candidate for Raw. I think Lacey Evans would be very well served. Very well served on Raw because Raw is in desperate need of heels right now. I think Nikki Cross and Lars have to be put on SmackDown. Lars can't be put on Raw. And Nikki Cross has the type of gimmick that would flourish much, much easier over on SmackDown. And they can put Heavy Machinery wherever they want. I know, not that I know, but you can feel what they're going to do with it, with them. They're bringing them up for the act first and foremost. Blaine says he wants EC3 versus Brock Lesnar. That'll be interesting. Anthony adds that EC3 will be over on main. That's not even a question. Legendary JF says the last time I saw EC3 on WWE TV was him on Saturday morning. Slam as Bateman. Ay. That's been a while. He's improved. Blaine also adds that EC3 is the one who he's looking forward to the most. I'm really curious to see. I'm really curious to see how he fits in, and to see how they use him, because the last big Impact star that they got, let's not forget, it's Bobby Lashley. That took a while for them to adjust, to figure out what to do with them. I don't think they'll have that problem with EC3 though. He's got a bunch of his mic skills and his charisma don't equal Bobby's. I think they've got something much more golden on their hands than Bobby Lashley though. And Kristen says Cross to SmackDown, Cross versus Lynch. Yes. In the rematch that they had a couple of weeks ago, we absolutely need that. And then on top of these announcements, we had his Sami Zayn promo package and a Kevin Owens promo package. They're both on the way back. So when there was a lot of in this show, maybe it wasn't fresh per se, but there was a look, let's put out some things that will make you happy. NXT call-ups, you like that. You guys like that shit. There you go. Sami Zayn's almost ready to come back. Here you go. You like Sami Zayn, right? Hey, Kevin Owens, you like that guy too. Here you go. Let's bring all these people back. So there was a lot of feel good here, right? A lot of that. There was a Bobby Lashley segment as well, where Lashley and Leo are in the ring aping Elias's shtick. They have the guitar that they broke over his back from last night. Instead of singing a song, they do the poses until Elias comes out of nowhere and cracks a guitar across the back of the almighty Bobby Lashley, who rolls out of the ring, then gets back in the ring. Kind of a no-sell there. Kind of a no-sell. Next, we have the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match between the Authors of Pain, Lucha House Party, the Revival, and the B Team. Another high point of Raw tonight was Corey Graves telling us that he had learned that Lucha House rules are done in WWE. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The B Team and Lucha House Party have a chant duel to begin with, because that's really exciting. It's funny, but as many of you know, I'm an avid 205 Live watcher, and I can't stand Lucha House Party on Raw. I love Lucha House Party on 205 Live. Lince Dorado he's a magician. I love Lucha House Party on 205 Live. Can't stand them on Raw. Anyway, so Lince starts with a drop kick. Kalisto comes in with an assisted missile drop kick off of Kalisto popping him up, which was really cool. Dawson tags himself in on Kalisto. He slaps him hard a couple of times, and Dawson lays on Kalisto in his own corner. Hits a snap suplex, an elbow. Wilder tags in, but the Revival eat a double DDT on the part of Kalisto, which is followed by the Tower of Lucha and Lince's log dive. I still don't know how to call that. You know, when he just gets really, really stiff and he just drops. Is it like a log, like a timber? Maybe we should call it that. What's timber in Spanish? Can anyone check that in the chat? Chat, make yourself useful. Find out how to say timber in Spanish. I'm sorry. You guys are useful. You're here and you make me feel good. You give me all sorts of good feels. Authors of Pain are in and they go to work on Lince Dorado, but then we cut to commercial because we wouldn't want Authors of Pain to get over too much. Back from commercial, Wilder has Lince in a gory special. Lince battles out, but Curtis Axel eats the golden rewind. Kalisto then has a crossbody off the top rope on Bo Dallas, spinning flying slam on Bo Dallas. Tornado DDT on Curtis Axel. Dawson tags himself in on Bo. Dallas plants Dawson with a draping spinning slam. Covers him, only gets 2. Chaos ensues then. Everyone's in the ring. Akam and Rezar are taken out. Are taken out over the top rope by Bo and Dawson. Then the Luchas charge Bo Dallas and Dawson, but the first two guys lower the top rope, which and the Luchas flip over them, basically doing tope con hilos on the Authors of Pain dudes to the outside. That was a pretty nice spot. And then Dallas follows up with a series of inside cradles. It was a little weird. I get it that I get it that the B team has a history of winning matches with surprise inside cradles. It was just a little weird. Anyway, it ends with the Revival hitting the Shatter Machine and winning the goddamn match. So they are the number 1 contenders for the Raw Tag Team titles. Could Chad Gable and Bobby Roode have a very short-lived title run? I would be okay with that. I'm okay with the Revival winning matches. Damn it. El Tiembre Is that it? No? It's El Tiembre in Spanish. Timber. Right? Who's got, what are we talking about blocked? I got blocked, but everyone's blocked by JBL. That's not news. Septembre? John, you think it's Septembre? September? What? I'm confused. All right. Seth is backstage and he says last night was a disaster. You ain't kidding, Buster. He says, I heard the crowd last night and it's on me. No, it's not entirely on you. Because this isn't just about my performance. It's about my life. This is what I love. Basically, and then Baron Corbin comes in, and Corbin basically blames Seth for everything that happened to him, for turning the locker room against him and losing his GM spot. And Seth just slugs him right in the face. Next, we get a Ronda Rousey promo. She says, I told Nia last night she could kiss her fist goodbye. I told Charlotte I'd write the next chapter of our story. And I told Becky she's the last person she would want to provoke. And that provokes a huge swath of Becky chants in the audience. So she says, I'm here to define what a real champion is. It's so much more than a title. A real champion represents the limit of human potential, physically, mentally, morally. A real champion lives for the challenge, and she wants to start a new tradition. After the pay-per-view, the champion shows up and defends their title. And I'm here for a fight right now. Open challenge. So we cut to gorilla position, and there's chaos. All the women are there. The whole of the women's division are there, and they're screaming for an opportunity to go. And Stephanie McMahon lets out a shrill, that's and a half, or whatever. If we're going to go out here and settle it. And she says, what we're getting tonight is an 8-women gauntlet match. And I was looking over at the women assembled, and Nia Jax was shining. Her absence made her glow. Where was Nia Jax? Now, I hesitated in calling what happened last night on TLC as a burial, because she had a great match. Ronda Rousey carried Nia Jax to a fantastic match last night. Just as a parenthesis here. They had a great match. They had a great match at Money in the Bank earlier this year as well, the both of them. And it's crazy. It's nuts. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's crazy that Nia Jax has the most chemistry with the wrestler who only started wrestling in March 2018. That's nuts. Anyway. So, you have, so basically, you have all your women there. Nia is nowhere to be found. Didn't want to call it a burial, what happened last night, because they had a good match. But the fact that Becky just walked up to her backstage and walloped her one across the face and said, take my name out of your mouth, left her laying on the ground, and that Nia didn't interfere in the TLC match, which is something I was kind of expecting. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe I'm reading a little too much into this. I mean, maybe I just, I don't want to give the impression that I want Nia to fail. That's not the question. But I mean, it came across as like, okay, we're getting rid of this as soon as possible. And then tonight, there's no sign of Nia at all. It wouldn't be the first time that a heel who loses a big pay-per-view match doesn't show up the next night on Raw. I mean, it's nothing. I wouldn't read too much into it. But it's still really weird. So we get a gauntlet match. So the entire last hour of Raw was dedicated to the women. And yeah, and it, we were pointing it out amongst each other on Twitter tonight. It's like, it's strange, in an evening that's supposed to be so fresh. Where are the women? We hadn't seen any women matches. Well, they kept it for this gauntlet match. Starts off with Bayley versus Alicia Fox, which wasn't terrible, but it was kind of not great either. Yeah, there was Bayley started off strong, which is always good, and I think this is what they need to do more and more with Bayley, because I think she can be believable as a true to form babyface. They just have to put her in a position where we can believe in her, where we have the chance to believe in her. Bayley plants Fox at some point on the top turnbuckle, and she flips over Fox, but she tweaks her knee as she lands. I hate that spot so much. She tweaks her knees as she lands, and basically covers Fox. Actually, Alicia Fox covers her, but Bayley reverses the pin and gets the win. She moves on to the next round, which is with Dana Brooke, who goes right after the knee. And that would become Bayley's story for the rest of her tenure in this gauntlet match. Brooke goes after her with some ground and pound, leg scissors, and she chop blocks Bayley from behind. Irish whips Bayley into the corner, but Bayley collapses. Her knee just gives out on her. I thought that was a nice touch, was a good bit of selling, and interesting, and an important way to put over this story as well. Brooke then just goes right in for a cover, and only gets two, and goes right into a headlock. Brooke keeps the aggression going. Bayley to belly, a bit out of nowhere from Bayley for the win. And when we're back from commercial, we find out that the next opponent is Mickie James, and she is beating up on Bayley. Wait, hang on a second. Is chat right now comparing women's wrestlers to breakfast cereals? Because I am for this. Bayley is Trix because she's for kids. Wait a second. Ruby Wright is my Fruity Pebble. Oh, you guys. Blaine says I'm a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. That's Natalia. Ember Moon is Honey Bunches of Oats. Natalia is Frosted Shredded Wheat. Mandy Rose is my Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Dana Brooke is Grape Nuts because no one buys it. Good stuff, chat. Where were we? Mickie James. She's beating up on Bayley. It's a net breaker. Covers her for two. Bayley is up on the ropes. Mickie runs the ropes, but Bayley moves out of the way, covers Mickie. And she gets two. Mickie pancakes Bayley, kips up, goes up top, seated senton into a pin, but Bayley reverses, and Mickie reverses again. They just can't pin each other. There was a lot of pin reversals during this gauntlet match, and it's good. It's good when not overused, and I feel it was a bit overused tonight. Mickie gets a big kick on Bayley, covers her, and Bayley kicks out again, and starting to put over her resilience, her endurance. Back suplex by Bayley. Mickie James kicks her to the outside. Then Mickie goes for a baseball slide that is caught by Bayley, who then delivers a big knee. Bayley goes up top, crossbody on Mickie from the second rope. Running knee to Mickey's face. She's using her knees a lot, but she's also selling it. It's like instinct. It's like the adrenaline that's flowing through her. but she's throwing adrenaline around as well. Top rope elbow on Mickie James, and everyone is convinced that this one is done, but as she covers Mickie, but Mickie grabs the bottom rope, has to break up the pin. The Bailey to Billy is reversed into the corner. Mickie James hits the mick kick for the win. It was a good performance by Bailey here, and this match between both of these ladies was somewhat of a high point here. It was a good showing by both of them. Bailey was in the match 21 minutes, which is non-negligible. Ember comes in next. Mickie takes her out as she arrives. Ember takes James down with a nice leg sweep. James then sidesteps a drop kick, covers Ember for 2. Follows up with some kicks. Moon with a springboard flying crossbody. Mickie goes on the outside. Ember slides out. Mickie slides back in, but then slides back out and tries to powerbomb Ember off the apron to the floor. But Ember holds on. Instead, James trips her on the apron, and she lands on the apron hard. Back from commercial, Moon is just planting Mickie James. They tried some strikes. Ember is taking the fight to Mickie. Covers her, but only gets 2. Mickie rolls Ember up and then holds the ropes blatantly, mind you. Like, it wasn't anything subtle. Was the ref was there and she was holding on with both hands. It was like, what? It wasn't smart. James face plants Ember again. She goes up top. She jumps up, but Ember connects with, I think it was a lung blower. The camera work was terrible here. Could not make out what Ember Moon tried to pull off here. I think it was like a lung blower. Ember goes up top for the Eclipse to get the win and have it sold like $1 million by Mickie James again. And Natalya comes out next. She gets rolled up quickly but kicks out. The sharpshooter is avoided by Ember. Big strike by Ember takes Natalya down. Ember gets Natalya into a submission, but Nat powers out. She actually lifts Ember, and she powers out of the lift. She goes up top with a tornado suplex on Natalya, covers her, but only gets 2. Ember goes up top, flies over Natalya, who connects with a discus clothesline, lariat, I should say, covers for 2. Sharpshooter, but Ember fights out. Inside cradle for 2. Natalya rolls her up for the pin, and it was a little anticlimactic. It came a little bit out of nowhere, didn't care for it much. Speaking of didn't care for it much, Ruby Riott and Natalya, it just doesn't click. It just doesn't work. We saw it last night in the tables match. There's something, it's not even a question of, they don't have all that great chemistry with each other. No, it just doesn't work. There's something that just doesn't connect between the two. Again, this evening, their sequence in the gauntlet match was a snore. It was a snore. I didn't care for it much. I thought it was too long. It was just too long. There was the towards the end where Natalya started battling back, getting some explosive offense in with some lariats, two snap suplexes. Ruby interrupted the discus clothesline with a Uranagi type move. She goes up top, going for the reverse senton, but Natalya moves out of the way, rolls her up, gets the win. And Sasha Banks is next. She comes in with some kicks, some drop kicks. Knees to the midsection of Natalya. Natalya battles back with some shoulders into the midsection as Banks is in the corner. Banks runs the ropes. Natalya catches her into a Hurricane Rana position, but lifts herself up and DDTs Natalya, covers her, and gets 2.9. Back from commercial, and Sasha's struggling to get back to her feet. Natalya gets up first. Basement dropkick on Sasha, covers her for 2. A backslide by Sasha also gets 2. Natalya gets another discus lariat in, covers for 2. And she gets Sasha into the sharpshooter for a decent amount of time. Sasha finally is able to get out by flipping Natalya over into the turnbuckle. That was cool. Sasha gets Natalya in a half crab submission. And Natalya tries to reverse out, but instead she gets locked into the bank statement. Natalya is able to get out of it, lifts Sasha up onto her shoulders, and gets her up into a proper positioning for a German suplex. But Sasha is able to battle back, gets to the top rope, hits a meteor on Natalya and covers her for 2.9. The backstabber is avoided. She tries to put Natalya back into the bank statement, but Natalya flips her out of it. Banks goes for that DDT again, but Natalya face slams her. Sharpshooter again, and this time Sasha Banks taps. Your winner, number one contender for the Raw Women's title is Natalya. Yes, Natalya, because Ronda Rousey, because I had Ronda in my brain. Ronda comes to the ring to congratulate her. She lifts her arm, extends a hand. There's a bit of tension. You know, these are friends. These are two great friends, right? They've been putting this over for weeks. They're friends, sparring partners, chums. But, gotta tell you guys, next week is their fight for the title. I think 4 months ago, if this were to happen, I would have told you Natalya's turning heel. But at this stage, Ronda's turning heel. Right now on Raw, there is a huge heel deficit in the women's division right now. Alexa, who wasn't even on the show tonight, here's another big name that was missing, that wasn't in the gauntlet or anything. She's been sick. She's been ill. But she wasn't there. But Alexa is a big heel. We'll see what happens with Natalya, but I mean, she's not Natalya, but Nia. We don't know what's going on with Nia. Ruby Riott is a great heel, but she's not. They haven't elevated her yet enough to be a credible threat. Who's your only other big heel credible threat? Ronda Rousey. And I've said it. I said it on TLC, on the TLC post show. I think we're on the cusp of the 4 Horsewomen feud. I really believe we are. I think it's a question of time until Shayna and Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke are called up from NXT. Might even be as soon as Royal Rumble. Ronda Rousey pushing both Becky and Charlotte, 2 members of the 4 Horsewomen of WWE, pushing them both off the ladder was not an accident. And that was not something that was completely random here. And if you're going to have the Horsewomen versus Horsewomen feud, if you're going to have that, the UFC ladies have to be the heels. There is no way WWE is going to have their women be the heels in this circumstance. And the only equation that's missing is that's problematic, I should say, not missing, but problematic right now, is a babyface Ronda Rousey. And right now, she's a babyface. This is my prediction for next week. It's official. Ronda Rousey will not only beat Natalya, but she's going to turn heel in the process. Mark my words. You guys are still talking about cereal. Dakota Kai is Fruit Loops, says Blaine. Oh, man. You guys had a lot of fun in chat tonight, and I'm glad you did. I had a lot of fun doing this as well. I always enjoy doing this. It was fantastic. Dakota Kai is Fruit Loops. Dakota Kai is Fruit Loops. Dakota Kai is Fruit Loops. Oh, Blaine says, slow down in the 4 Horsewomen versus Horsewomen, not till Survivor Series 2109. None of us will be around for that, Blaine. What the hell? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank first and foremost everyone in the chat for joining this evening. Again, great chat setup. Thank you so much for popping in. I want to thank everyone who took the time to watch the show at the start, from the start, from wherever you are in the future. Maybe in the past, that'd be wacky. But I'm really glad you popped in. If this is your first time watching this, please consider following me on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Subscribe to me there. And you can follow me on Twitter, over on Twitter, Mr. Warren Hayes. I will be back tomorrow evening for the SmackDown recap. Guys, thank you all so very much for joining me on this episode, and I will see you next time.